obviously this is like an onion. You want to peel it back, and I think the couple things that we all agree on is that we'd like to preserve Marine Stadium, but the reality is, to do so, you're going to have some sort of a profit-making venture, which is to provide money to the non-profitable tickets, very much like the Coconut Grove Playhouse, very much like the Gusman or anything else like that. A ticket does not cover the costs associated with the operation of entertainment venues. Rarely do they do. Having gone to the opera last week, the person who's in charge of the finances up there got up on the first act and said, "Thank you for your ticket price. You just paid for 37% of the opera," meaning the other 63% had to be paid for or arranged through other financing. So we know this going in. I met with the Marine Stadium folks last Thursday on the 13th, and I actually asked them, because I don't think you all had this, I didn't have this document, and I asked them for the names of the folks that they were dealing with. One of which was to listen to hear whether Manny Alonzo Park's name would come up. It did not. Then I asked them for the names of the folks associated with Expo. I took pretty good notes. I did my accurate, which costs $125 a time, and it revealed things, and it didn't reveal good things. And you don't have it all yet on the record. You're going to find that somebody has been enjoined by the Securities and Exchange Commission from ever touching a security. And that's the due diligence that I think certainly you should have done, and that's the due diligence I think the city should do, and I don't think that's a commissioner's job to start doing that kind of due diligence. So I question to some degree what kind of due diligence was done here. And then I came to my own estimation, which is what I call grandfathering. I have never seen a grandfather criticize a grandchild. You just fall in love with what it is that your kids have produced. And you got to be careful of what I call grandfather or grandmother syndrome, because you're never going to do the due diligence associated therewith. And you have to be very, very careful to make sure that this due diligence is done. Now, once we got this, some things became apparent, and the apparency of it seemed to me to be that the Marine Entertainment Center or the MEC or the Marine Expo Center, I mean, if it's intended to draw $10 million a year, and it's only going to pay $270,000 a year to the stadium, it's 2.7% of its anticipated gross. And is it really there for what reason? Isn't it really a Trojan horse of sorts? And, you know, the other issue I have, candidly, is the issue with the dry stack storage. The dry stack storage, which was the city of Miami's, we're going to give up that revenue when we should be, well, let me just say what it shows, when we should be creating dry stack storage of a common element to the Rickenbacker, so we have one seamless dry stack storage. And then, candidly, and I'm going to do this as nicely as I can to both architects, and I absolutely have spent a lot of time with these guys, and they are nice guys. However, if I count up the fees associated with this project, there's potentially over $6 million in fees. We are fiduciaries up here on behalf of the citizen taxpayers of the city of Miami. You are still sitting in a fiduciary capacity on behalf of the Friends of Marine Stadium. In that capacity, it does preclude you from, to some degree, self-dealing. Now, I remember asking a question as to whether you would be receiving any kind of remuneration, and the response I recall getting was no. But I didn't have this document at the time. So now I have this document, and potentially there is $6 million in fees. I think, you know, for my money, for the taxpayers' money, This is not going out to an RFP as it stands right now, and it's not going to referendum. So, or at least that's the intent that's being provided to us. That requires hypervigilance on the part of this commission. And I will tell you something. Based on what I've seen, and the one thing I don't see is Don Worth here. I don't see one of the original members of this Friends speaking on behalf out here. And I remember walking from organization to organization with him about 5 years ago, maybe it was 4 years ago, you know, with what I call the Don Worth presentation. But he's not here. And I'm curious why Don is not here. And to me, that's an indication something is not right. So what is right to me is that we do everything we can do to restore the stadium. There's a lot of things right on what I call everything east of the stadium. I'm not so sure everything west of the stadium is right. I'm not sure the deal is right. Well, I'm pretty sure the deal is not right, but I'm going to make some suggestions, Mr. Manager. I think there should be an RFP process to make sure that we are getting the best possible proposal. And I don't think with a popular mayor like we have, not there anymore, that this would not win a referendum. So I don't know that this should not be referendized, but it certainly should have an RFP process to it so we as a commission can say to the world, this is what we have, here's our criteria, and I'm just curious, world, is it the Dolphins that should be managing this? Is it the Philadelphia Eagles? I use that funny and euphemistically. We know it's not them. Is it the Miami Heat? Who's offering the most money? Who's offering the best deal? You've done yeoman's work, Ilario and George. You've done yeoman's work to get it this far. But I just wonder if you didn't become grandparents and not criticize the child that you were creating. Because it's very easy to do. You can fall in love with a deal. As lawyers, whenever we do a significant deal in our office, we're not allowed to finish the deal. We have to bring it before another lawyer, and we have to say, have I just become too beholden to this deal? So that there is a separate set of eyes, which is what we're doing, our due diligence, and asking the questions, inevitably, is this good for the general public? More specifically, is it good for the taxpayers of the City of Miami? And to some degree, Mayor, will this harm Key Biscayne, state of Florida, and or Miami-Dade County? So, Mr. Manager, what I would say to you, and I have a suggestion. I don't know if this works for you guys, and I think it was Commissioner Gort, because I remember cursing at him at night, who put me on the steering committee, but it might have been Carollo too, so I don't remember which one it was, because I think there were like 11 meetings. Obviously, we're going to pass something today, because I think we're all in agreement on certain things. Maybe we go back to the steering committee. Maybe we try to create. We didn't have the numbers. We didn't have this theory. But I think we have to make a profound statement up here. There's got to at least be an RFP. There's got to be more public process to this. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you.